Family, what's going on? It's TSpeaks. So I want to know, do you have the audacity to be rich? You know, people used to say, I know you don't have the nerve, I know you don't have the audacity, I know you don't have the gall when you literally were doing something opposite to what they expected you to do. Well, in order to become rich, there's something you have to have, really. You have to do really one thing in order to really become rich. And that is, you have to learn to ignore. Do you have the nerve or the audacity to ignore? You may be asking, to ignore what? Glad you asked. The first thing you have to definitely learn to ignore is ignore or forget everything that you've been taught in school. You see, when we started off in school, one of the first things that they did was, okay, you need to study hard. Why? Because you need to get good grades. Why? Because you need to be able to graduate and get a good job. Now that may be what you needed to do back then, years ago. Our parents used to have to do, go to school, get good grades, and then get a good job. But do you have the audacity to ignore that? To ignore what you've been taught all of your years in school, whether you went to high school only, whether you went to college, whether you went to continued education and you got your master's or you have your PhD. Whatever it is, we've all been geared as, if you will, little robots to go to school really, really well, do really, really good, get really, really good grades, and hope that we're going to be able to show a resume, which people really don't want to know too much now. They want to know, what can you do now? We're going to show this resume, and you're going to give me a job, and I'm going to be safe in the safe haven of your job, your establishment, and this is how I'm going to build my life. Now that may have been good back then. Those rules don't apply. So you need the audacity to be able to ignore what they taught you. What they taught you should become, what they taught you that you should do in order to have a certain outcome. So what it was really, the equation was a certain input, working hard, going to school, getting good grades, would perform and give you a certain outcome, which would be a good job. But the problem is with that good job is, number one, the good job will often fire you, will often displace you, will often ask you for more than what you're willing to give. So that good job these days doesn't necessarily seem like it's such a good job. And it's certainly not a great job, because when business goes bad, that good job will lay you off. That good job will give you a severance package when you reach a certain age, or they want to just cut expenses. But you have to have the audacity. In order to get rich, you have got to learn how to ignore what you've been taught. You also have to know how to ignore what you've been told to do. You have got to start now thinking outside the box. No, you have got to now realize that there is no box. There are no parameters. There are no take 1, 2, 3 steps and get to this outcome. Take A, B, and C and it equals D. Not these days. You see, there is a way that you can absolutely start to catapult your success, as opposed to going through the necessary channels that you were told to go through. So you were told to be a good indentured servant, I like to say, or whatever the case may be, in order to become an entrepreneur. You know, that's impossible. Don't do that. Stay right now in the working class, the working middle class, and get paid a salary, and that is going to be your life. You've got to learn how to ignore that. You've been told that you can work in order to get a good living. But I want to submit to you, you can work and you can still end up just over broke. You can work and still not have enough to meet your basic needs, like housing and foods and transportations, and to take care of your family. You have got to learn how to, and I say it on purpose, you have got to learn how to ignore what you've been told. Because this is the thing that's going to cause you. You are going to learn how to go a different route to meet your objective. If financial freedom is the way that you want to go, it's not school, work, do what you're told, get a good job, and then make it that way, because that's not going to give you the financial freedom that you're after. That's not going to give you the ability to wake up in the morning and decide what you want to do with your time. No, I'm afraid it's not going to work. So you have got to learn how to ignore what you've been told. Do you have the audacity to be rich? Because you got to understand something. You're going to hear it all over. You're going to hear different people literally show you that you should be doing this. So you're going to ignore what you hear. And sometimes people are speaking not necessarily with their words, but with their actions. So it goes like this. Your friends they take a vacation. They're going to go to Italy for a week. They got a vacation off their job. They're going to go to Italy. They got their tax returns from working. You have got to learn how to ignore that. Ignore what you see the Joneses doing. Matter of fact, I don't even know the Joneses' address, because literally you have to realize I have to ignore what you're doing. I have to ignore what you say I should do in order to be successful. Because everyone has this blueprint on being quote unquote successful while you're working. You work, you climb up the corporate ladder, you get promotions, you get bonuses, you may become a partner, but you're still working on a job. You're still mandated by whatever they say that you should do on that job. And when you have friends and family, most of us do, who are all doing the same thing, what does that mean? They're really telling you without speaking it to you verbally, this is the way to be successful. I'm going to go tell you to get a job just like I have. You can buy a nice shiny truck. Hey, my wife and I get ready to buy a house right now on a different street. It costs $650,000, and my old one was only $250,000. So we are living the golden dream now. We're going to put a white picket fence on Saturdays. We're going to get a dog and have 2.5 kids. I'm telling you these things because this is what you should emulate. You ought to duplicate what I'm doing in order to be able to call yourself successful. But family, the question is, do you have the audacity to ignore what you're being told? Do you have the audacity to ignore the things that you see? Because often signs will come to you and they'll start speaking to you. And I say talking to you because they'll speak to you. You'll be driving down the street. You'll see a friend has a brand new Porsche, a brand new whatever truck, car, house, vacation, jewelry. People start talking to you. You see things on IG. You see things on social media sites. Like this one has a new bag. This one is traveling. It seems like every other week they're traveling somewhere. They're traveling for business. They're traveling for work. They're home, staying from home and working from home, but they're still working. You've got to learn how to ignore every bit of that. In order to really be successful, in order to be rich, you have got to learn how to listen less to what other people are telling you that you should do. Do you have the audacity to ignore them? And when I say ignore them, I mean to the point where, oh, hey, that's nice. Celebrate their achievements and their accomplishments, but don't own them for yourself. You see, because someone who's actually working and they go on a week's vacation to Italy, you look at the Italy part, but you didn't realize that when they get back to that job, all that work that they left is probably waiting for them. Not only that, they had to get on a calendar in order to say, I'm going to take vacation. So they have certain constraints that they have to live by. So in order for you to have the outcome, which is going to Italy, you have got to go through the different channels that they did. Going to ask your supervisor, saving up your money to see if you can get enough money to go, charging half the trip, whatever the case may be. It is not going to be the end result that you think it should be, to where you're just traveling when you want to travel, going where you want to go, and however long you want to go. That's the financial freedom, as opposed to being on a job and taking even a 2-week vacation. And I certainly understand that, because when you're dealing with different people around you, friends and family, you kind of move the same. They say you're known by the company that you keep. So if you're around individuals who kind of have decent homes, drive nice cars, go to nice trips, and on the weekends, they basically go to restaurants, and then they go back to work on Monday to earn more money to sustain the lifestyle. You'll listen to that and go, I should be doing the same thing. I should be applying my skills toward this job who wants to pay me X amount of money so that I can have those things. But do you have the audacity to ignore what you're being told? And I say that because you're going to be told a lot. Everywhere you look, you're going to see the majority of individuals who are all working. But most of them are miserable. Most of them do not want to work on a job, but they feel as if there are no other ways in which they can achieve their goals. So they work. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because you should definitely take care of yourself. You should take care of your family. It is our right to have, adequate housing, have a roof over your head, have food on the table. Maybe not the best of foods, but certainly to eat and to be able to have a nice, comfortable place to clean yourself and to sleep. Those are the expectancies. It's how you go about obtaining them is the questionable part. And you have got to learn how to really have the audacity to ignore, close your ears to what your eyes are saying to you. Your eyes are telling you, this is the life to go, this is the direction. So you're ignoring what you've been taught in school. You're ignoring what you're being shown outside of school from friends, family, and even what your life used to be like. The last thing I want you to ignore, in order to be rich, this is after you start your business, you identify your gift and you decided, I want to be rich. Here's the biggest thing you have to ignore. You have to have the audacity to ignore yourself. You have to ignore, and I know, how do I ignore myself? Because yourself will start talking to you when things get rough. When you're staying up late, when you're waking up early, when you don't see any way that you're going to be able to complete this project in order to get the business off the ground, you're going to hear a voice say, you should quit and turn back. You should stop doing this and go back to what you know. Go back to the job they'll love to have you, or find a new one. You have got to have the audacity to ignore yourself, because yourself is going to want to quit and go back to what seemingly is the easy road. It's going to be going back to what you know, because face it, it's always easier to walk back to a footprint that you've already stepped in as opposed to charting a new path. Why is that? When you're going in the snow, like I live in the northeast section, so it snows in the wintertime. And when you're crossing the street or you're just walking in general, you typically want to step in an area that's already been depressed, that there's someone that's already been there, because now the snow won't get on your feet and you'll be able to walk a little easier, because you don't know how deep it is until somebody's walked on it first. That's the easy way. The harder way is to walk on brand new snow, because how deep is this? You can't tell. How much work is going to be entailed with starting your own business? You can't tell. How long will you have to stay up on a single night to do something that's going to be necessary to complete it by the morning time? You can't tell from the outside. You can't tell. It's like trying to fight a prize fight. You won't know how an opponent fights and how strong they hit until you get hit. You have got to learn how to ignore yourself when you want to quit, when you notice what it takes. Because family, I want to be honest with you. To start your own business, I'll tell you straight, it's going to take everything you've got. It's going to take you thinking of things that you've never thought of. It's going to take you doing things that you've never done. It's going to take you seeing things that you've never seen. Because you're going to be seeing things from your imagination and creating them into your reality. That's always different. Because we right now go by what we can see, what we can touch, what we can feel. The imagination is something that you see internally. And then you get to work and create it as a product or something else externally. It's always going to be more difficult. But however, if you have the audacity to get rich, I'm talking about really, if you stand strong in your foot and in your stance and you make the decision, I am going to do what it takes to be successful at being an entrepreneur, you will become rich. Because the only thing that's stopping you from right now being rich is you. It's you listening and paying attention to what you've been taught in school and saying, I have to go this direction. So you were programmed, go this direction, work hard, get a good job. Then you become, if you will, programmed or boxed in from pressure. Peer pressure is real. My family has the houses. My friends are going away. They just bought a brand new truck. Their kid is going to private school. And right now I'm starting my own business and I'm taking all of my money and I'm going to invest it in my business. I have to sit this one out. No, we're not going on our usual summer vacation and we go with other couples. Or no, I'm not as a single person going to go and do this. I'm not as a single woman going to take a cruise with my girlfriends. You're going to sit this one out for a couple rounds. You have got to learn how to ignore that. See, the name of the game this evening is, do you have the audacity to ignore, or the gall, or do you have what it takes to actually ignore everything that you heard outside, everything that you're hearing outside, and even what you're hearing inside, and still move forward? Moving forward when you're in pain, moving forward when you're fatigued. Sleep deprivation is real. Ask any soldier that's been out in the battlefield, when you start to lose sleep and you've been up for 14 hours, and it's not as if you're up for 14 hours just sitting. When you're up for 14 hours creating, when you're digging inside of the channels of your mind that you didn't even know you had, and you're creating something, and you're coming up with an answer, or you're on the phone talking for hours on end, creating your business, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take perseverance. It's going to take focus. It's going to take determination. But your body's going to be screaming. Your mind is going to be telling you, go back. Everything is going to be telling you, go back to what you know. Go back to that part of the snow that you've already seen someone walked in or you yourself have walked in. You can still save yourself. Don't spare yourself the embarrassment of not having a job when people ask the first question, hey, what do you do for a living? To say you're an entrepreneur and you not have all of the T's crossed or all of the I's dotted and you're not profitable yet. You're just basically barely making it right now. Isn't it better to when you go back, you go to a job and you ask for a raise, you do exactly what you can, be that indentured servant that's just working hard, and at the end of the year, get your salary increase, get a bonus, and feel respected again, feel successful. But I want to say to you, that's short-sighted. What you can accomplish as an entrepreneur, it is endless. It is unlimited. The amount that you can receive to be rich as an entrepreneur, you'll never be rich working on a job, no matter how much you try. Why? Because if you were rich, what good would the job do with you? Because if you're making the same amount the CEO is making, why would the CEO hire you? Why would they keep you? Why would you even stay? Once you get to be at the financial level that you want to, you would leave. But being an entrepreneur will bring you the things that you desire, but you have to have the audacity to be rich. And that's where many people fail. Many people throw up their hands. Many people go back. Why? Because it's tough. Because it takes a lot of work. Because it takes a lot of determination. But when you have the internal fortitude, that I won't quit inside of you, that audacity, that gall or the nerve. You know, the older people used to say sometimes, I know you don't have the nerve to sit there and ignore me. But the truth of the matter is, you're going to have to ignore everything except that small voice inside. You're going to have to ignore that small voice, everything except that small voice that says you can make it. Keep going. It won't yell. It'll whisper it. Everything outside of you is going to be yelling. That's how you know oftentimes close your ears. Because things that are really going to be received, you don't have to yell. If you talk regular, it'll be heard. If you talk normal, it'll be received. So family, make sure you have the audacity to ignore. Ignore what you've been taught, ignore what you see, and ignore what you hear, and you will become rich. Remember that. Family, I'm TSpeaks. If you like this video, if anything that I've said sparked the interest in you or seemed like it was useful to you, like, comment, share. Definitely appreciate it. Remember, it is possible. You can do it if you just believe. TSpeaks.